Hello, BTS lovers. What truly happened between Jungkook and Taehyung during their military service? Often, the lives of global superstars like BTS seem easier to interpret for fans, but the truth is, there's so much hidden beneath the surface. In this deeply moving story, it's not just about two young men serving in different military divisions, but about moments filled with surprises, honors, and a genuine friendship that took many people by surprise. As we know, Taehyung and Jungkook are two of the closest members in BTS. Yet recently, something unexpected happened that directly impacted both of them. A gift given by one of Taehyung's close friends suddenly created a new dynamic between the two. What was really going on behind the scenes? How did Jungkook react to the gift Taehyung received from this woman? Is there a deeper story behind this emotional moment? At first, it may have been hard to imagine that both Taehyung and Jungkook would be separated due to their national duty. They served their mandatory military service in different divisions, something quite rare in the entertainment world, especially for a group as tightly bonded as BTS. However, despite the distance and time apart, one thing remained unshaken: their unbreakable friendship. But just a few days ago, surprising news emerged about Taehyung. News that stunned everyone, especially Jungkook. A few days before an important event, Taehyung received a gift from a close friend he's known for a long time. The gift was no ordinary object. It was a symbol of appreciation, success, and future possibilities. An item capable of connecting two souls separated by miles and duty. For a while, the story behind the gift remained a mystery. Would you like me to continue the next part, revealing what the gift was, who the woman really is, and how Jungkook's silent reaction changed everything? And when that short message arrived, the night suddenly felt warmer than usual. Jungkook, who was sitting inside the barracks at the time, wearing his now faded uniform marked by sweat and dust from training, stared at the small screen of his phone with eyes that couldn't hide his emotions. The message from Taehyung came so suddenly, just a few simple words, but their meaning was like a distant embrace. Hyung is always here, even if unseen. Don't get tired, John Jungkook.
No emojis, no dramatic flair.
Yet Jungkook went quiet. For a long time, his eyes glistened, and though he quickly wiped them with the back of his hand, the feeling lingered. In military life, showing vulnerability could be a burden. But this wasn't weakness. This was strength, realizing that even in the silence of a cold, pressured night, one voice could warm his heart: Taehyung's. That day happened to be the final session of Jungkook's extreme field training. He had just returned from surviving days in the snowy mountains, his body nearly frozen and spirit worn thin. Yet that message sparked a tiny flame inside his chest. He smiled faintly, staring at the sender's name, Kim Taehyung. Just 2 words, but his world felt whole again. Elsewhere, not too far, yet seemingly worlds apart, Taehyung sat on his bunk, scribbling notes on the back page of his military pocketbook. He knew the book might get lost someday or destroyed by time, but he wasn't writing to preserve it. He was writing to remember, he wrote. Jungkook is not just a dongsaeng. He's the living witness of all those nights filled with hope, silent tears, and laughter that stitched me back together. In military training, time passes slowly. Days stretch out like snowflakes that refuse to fall. But for the two of them, tiny moments, like a message, a letter, or even a rumor from a senior station nearby, became lifelines. Threads of red string tying together wounds of longing. Eventually, news of Taehyung's gift reached Jungkook through unofficial channels. A passing officer who had seen the small box mentioned it casually, unaware of the depth behind the story. Jungkook didn't say much. He simply nodded. But later that night, he penned a secret letter he would entrust to a fellow soldier being transferred to Taehyung's base. The contents were brief, but pierced through the heart. I know who gave you that gift. But more importantly, I know why you accepted it. I'm proud of you. I'm not jealous.
I'm grateful.
Because someone out there loves you the way I love you, not as an idol, but as a person. Keep being my Taehyung, and I'll keep being your Jungkook, until we meet again. The days that followed moved in silence. There were no more surprises, no return letters. But the quiet wasn't emptiness. It was full of unspoken promises, of feelings that words could never capture. When one commander asked Jungkook what he missed most about the outside world, he didn't say the stage or music, or even his name as the Golden Magne. He simply replied, "A voice that makes the night feel lighter." The commander didn't understand, but Army would, and one night, during a small military ceremony commemorating friendship between divisions, both Jungkook and Taehyung's names were mentioned in the same breath, shocking everyone. Two soldiers from different divisions, yet with the same reputation in dedication, discipline, and friendship. No one knew who wrote that line into the official ceremony script, but everyone saw the way Jungkook's face stiffened and how Taehyung's eyes welled up from afar as they stood in formations separated by rows of soldiers, yet united by a story only they fully understood. This wasn't the end of their story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would continue to be written in the silence of the night, in the heavy steps taken across rugged ground, in a psalm not yet composed, and in the hearts of two young men who still chose to believe in each other, even as the world changed. Would you like me to continue writing the emotional climax when they finally meet again in person after completing their military service? Spring arrived not with grand parades or loud celebrations, but with a quietness that felt like grace. The air smelled softer. The wind no longer cut through skin, it kissed it. And somewhere inside a military base tucked near the edge of a quiet mountain range, a young man stood still under the early sun, his hands trembling slightly though his posture remained disciplined. Jungkook was finally being discharged. There were no cameras, no screaming fans, no music playing in the background, just the sound of boots stepping on damp earth and the rustle of cherry blossoms beginning to fall, even before they fully bloomed. The final ceremony was brief.
A salute.
A thank you, and silence. But Jungkook's heart was not silent. It was roaring. For weeks, he'd heard rumors that Taehyung would be discharged soon after him, that someone had pulled strings to allow a brief, unscheduled visit between bases, that two soldiers with remarkable discipline records had been granted a rare, precious moment. Off the books, unofficial, but deeply human. He didn't want to believe it. Not fully. Hope was dangerous. Hope was fragile. But then it happened at a jeep pulled up. Not one of the loud, dusty ones, but a clean, civilian-style vehicle used for quiet internal transfers. Jungkook squinted against the light as the door opened slowly, and there he was, Kim Taehyung. Still in uniform. Hair a little longer now, face a little thinner, but with that same timeless gaze, like he had walked straight out of Jungkook's dreams and into the real world. For a moment, neither moved. Officers nearby looked confused, but none dared interrupt. There was something sacred in the way the two simply stood there, frozen in a memory neither of them ever spoke out loud. Then Taehyung walked forward, and Jungkook, who had endured pain, fatigue, hunger, drills, and isolation without flinching, finally broke. His lips trembled, his eyes burned, his throat tightened. And when Taehyung stood before him, just inches away, Jungkook did not salute, he whispered, "You came." And Taehyung, voice low and cracked, replied, "I said I would."
No hope. No dramatic reunion.
Just silence and presence. But to them, that silence was louder than any stadium. They sat under a tree where no one could see them fully.
Time slowed down.
Jungkook took off his boots for the first time in hours and stretched his legs on the grass. Taehyung shared a piece of chocolate hidden in his pocket, an old tradition between them. "Do you remember," Taehyung began, "the first time we stayed up all night talking on the rooftop after a concert?" Jungkook smiled.
Ido.
"You said I looked like a star that didn't know it was shining." Taehyung laughed, eyes misty. "You still don't know." Jungkook looked at him, really looked at him. You were the one shining back then. You still are. The conversation wandered between military memories and childhood dreams, between regrets and quiet gratitude. Jungkook mentioned the letter he wrote but never sent. Taehyung said he had written songs in his head just for Jungkook, but they were too personal to ever release. They were no longer idols at that moment. They were just two men, scarred but healing, surviving but also remembering how to live. Eventually, Taehyung said, "When this is all over, let's not rush back to the spotlight." Jungkook nodded. "Let's write something together first. Not a song, not a performance, just something that's ours." Taehyung reached into his chest pocket and pulled out a photo, faded and creased. It was the two of them, back when they were still teenagers, sitting backstage with their heads leaned together, eyes closed, dreaming of a future they couldn't yet name. "I carried this the whole time," Taehyung said, "because no matter how far we were, this kept me close to you." Jungkook closed his eyes and leaned his head back against the tree.